My name is Emily Wood, and I am the Ontario Advisor for the Canadian Solar Industries Association. And we are the national trade association that represents over 700 solar companies across the country, most of which are in Ontario, as most of you probably know. This is our booming solar market here in the province of Ontario. And our mission at CanSIA is to raise the profile of solar energy across the country and to really strengthen and expand solar markets in each province across Canada. So I am very excited to be here today, and I want to begin just by thanking the team at McMaster University and the Photovoltaic Innovation Network for inviting me here to speak today. And I want to just take a moment to congratulate all of you guys, because it's really the work that all of you are doing through the Photovoltaic Innovation Network and through McMaster University that is really fostering and expanding our solar energy industry here in Ontario, and really helping to showcase a lot of our solar success stories. So I'm very appreciative of all the work that you're doing, and I think you've been quite a leader in getting solar energy on the radar of Ontario citizens and of our candidates and of our communities. So I think you have a lot to be proud of for taking a real leadership role in this area. So I'm here today to speak on behalf of CanSIA about our new Stand Up for Solar campaign that we launched at the beginning of September. And I'd like to just start off by telling you all a little bit about who I am and why it is that I'm doing the work that I'm doing. I became really passionate about solar energy about just over 3 years ago, when I was quite fortunate to be involved in the development of our Green Energy Act. I was working at the Ontario Ministry of Energy at the time. And since then, I've spent a bit of time down in California training to become a solar installer. And as Jennifer mentioned, I've spent quite a bit of time in Central America and in South America and the Amazon, working with some indigenous and low-income communities to develop community-based solar energy projects. So I feel quite fortunate that I've had the opportunity to that my experience in solar energy has spanned the public policy and the installation and the community building aspects of the solar world. And it's been quite a ride so far. So I'm very excited about it. I recently joined CanSIA because of this incredible moment in time that we find ourselves in here in Ontario with respect to solar energy. We launched our Green Energy Act back in 2009, and since then, Ontario has truly become a world leader in solar energy, both at a large scale and at the community level. I recently joined CanSIA because of this amazing moment in time, and we've become truly a leader in solar energy development. And to give you an example of what that means, in 2010, we built the world's largest solar park in Sarnia, which is an 80-megawatt project that powers over 12,000 homes. And also in 2010, we installed the second largest amount of solar energy in North America at almost 170 megawatts, which is second only to California in total installed capacity. And the amazing thing is that these solar projects that happened in only 1 year represent an investment in the Ontario economy of over $750 million and enough power and enough electricity to power over 30,000 homes. And so the question that I want to address today and discuss with you all today, and I'm hoping that this can turn into a conversation after I've spoken a little while, is what does this all really mean for Ontario citizens? What are the benefits of all these solar projects, and why should we be so proud of how far we've come in such a short time? But first, I want to just take a step back and paint you all a picture of what's happening in Ontario at the provincial level with solar energy to better inform what those benefits really are at the local level. So we all know that the sun is a free, renewable resource that will never run out. That said, it does require quite a bit of upfront investment and upfront skill to harness that energy and turn it into the electricity that we all use to power our homes and our businesses. So as I mentioned, we launched our Green Energy and Green Economy Act back in 2009, which, as most of you likely know, is our kind of flagship piece of legislation that enables the development of renewable energy sources in Ontario. And the keystone program that came out of that act is called the Feed-in Tariff program, which is our province's renewable energy program. And the Feed-in Tariff program guarantees a fixed price to renewable energy generators for a 20-year contract term, for a 20-year period. And in this case, the definition of a generator is not just a large power plant in the middle of a cornfield somewhere. It includes homeowners and small business owners that want to generate electricity and get paid for that power that they produce, and get a good rate of return on that investment. So it's a very accessible and inclusive program that in many ways really kind of democratizes the benefits of renewable energy for local communities and local homeowners and small businesses. As many of you are probably familiar with already, and afterwards I'd love to just kind of go around and get a sense of what your experience is in this area and what you're hoping to discuss afterwards. As many of you are probably familiar with already, feed-in tariffs are a really effective policy tool for fostering the development of renewable energy, and particularly solar energy. They've been responsible for over 80% of our grid-tied solar electricity development around the world. And the amazing thing about these programs is the indirect benefits that flow out of them in the form of job creation, and investment at the local level. They're truly a catalyst for local business development and workforce development, which is, I think, a really exciting thing to be bringing to Ontario at this moment in time. All right, we're just going to move on here. So this slide, before I move on, actually is an overview of the different feed-in tariff rates. So it's a tranche system or a tiered system, depending on the size of your solar project. And the smaller the solar project, the higher the tariff. So as you can see, rooftop up to 10 kilowatt systems, you get 80.2 cents for every kilowatt hour that you produce from the government. And then it goes down as the projects get larger and larger. And we can go into a little more detail if you want afterwards on that. So as an Ontario citizen, I gotta say that I am really proud that we now have over 30 solar manufacturing facilities that have set up as a direct result of the Green Energy Act in this province. And you know, this includes companies that are taking the lead in manufacturing, developing things like solar modules and inverters and racking and mounting systems. There's one silicon refinery in the province as well. So we've really kind of got the whole gamut of the supply chain right here in Ontario. And it's all developed over the last couple of years because of the opportunities that have been flowing out of the Green Energy Act and out of the feed-in tariff program. Believe it or not, I just learned this stat recently and I found it really interesting. Believe it or not, the solar manufacturing industry has grown more in the last year than any other part of the manufacturing sector. So I think that's something to be really proud of in Ontario. And this slide here is an overview of all of the solar manufacturing firms that have opened across the province. So most of them are in southern Ontario. We have one in Sault Ste. Marie that manufactures modules. But yeah, it kind of gives you an overview of where they all are there. And so what this really means is the creation of jobs. High quality, high paid, sustainable jobs, especially in those regions that have been hit pretty hard by the economic downturn and have traditionally had a stronger manufacturing base. So communities like Windsor and like Welland and London have been quite strongholds, quite center points of a lot of the solar manufacturing that's happened in this province. And I always like to tell a story that really touched me, and I think that really illustrates sort of what's been happening in this province over the last couple of years. I was at our Ontario Solar Conference in Windsor back in May, and I met a man named Paul who had worked as a supervisor at the John Deere tractor factory for over 32 years in Welland, Ontario, which is in the Niagara Peninsula region. And right before I met him, about a month before I met him, he had gotten laid off with barely any notice, like a week's notice. And he was really excited when I met him because he had just been rehired by OSM Solar, which is a solar panel manufacturer right in his backyard, right in his community. And they're actually located right next to the John Deere tractor factory. And so they've been scooping up all of these guys that have been laid off from the tractor factory. And he was so excited because, you know, he was telling me about what it meant to him to be able to keep bringing home the bacon for his family and to be able to, you know, start to build a better world for his kids. And it was really exciting. And it's these kinds of stories that just keep coming in from all of these new solar workers and the green economy that we're developing here in Ontario. So to give you some numbers of what this job creation actually looks like and how far we can reach over time, we've created over 8,000 new jobs in the solar industry since 2009 in Ontario. And this is expected to grow to over 11,000 next year and to reach 74,000 cumulatively by 2018. And by cumulatively, I mean that some of them are short-term jobs, some of them are, you know, construction jobs that aren't going to last but are happening right now or happening next year. So it's going to create about 74,000 cumulatively by 2018. And if you kind of take a step back and look at the overall impact of the clean energy sector all of the different sources, accounting for solar and wind and biogas and other forms of renewable energy in Ontario. Just 3 years ago, there were only 2,000 people employed across Canada in these sectors. And now the number for just the province of Ontario is almost 6 times that, with over 13,000 people employed by the end of 2010. And again, these jobs are really being distributed across the province in communities all over the place, especially in those places that have been hit pretty hard by the economic downturn. And if you look at job creation from an investment perspective, solar energy creates more jobs per dollar and per unit of energy than any other energy source, more than natural gas, more than coal, more than nuclear, and so on. So this right here is a slide from a study that we commissioned about 2 months ago. And we commissioned this third-party analysis to look at the overall economic impacts of solar energy in Ontario. And we found some absolutely phenomenal things. This is one of them, which I think is a really powerful stat, just when you're talking about all of the different benefits of different energy sources and comparing them over time. All right. So I do want to just take a moment to speak about some of the challenges going forward with our industry and some of the challenges we've been experiencing over the last year or so, because some of them are quite on the radar right now. And I think some of these challenges, there are a lot of opportunities for students, for young people to really, I guess, get in there and help to mitigate some of them and overcome them over time. So right here, I'm just going to put my glasses on because I can't really see that far. So some of you might have heard over the last little while about some of the connection issues with all of these solar projects that are coming up. The exciting thing is that there's such high demand for solar projects right now. There's so many Ontario homeowners and small business owners and families that want to put solar panels on their roofs and want to develop projects on farmland, and there's just an absolute overwhelming amount of interest in the program. And it's quite a young program. And so it was launched less than 2 years ago, and it's only really been up and running for about 1.5 years now. And so one of the challenges we have been facing has been connection capacity and getting projects connected to the grid. I think it's important for people to understand that there are growing pains, and it's a very new thing that we're trying to accomplish here, and it's going to take a little bit of time to really get the project or get the program up and running in a very smooth fashion. So it's one of the challenges that we've been experiencing. Training and education is another one. We launched this program a couple years ago, and over that period, there's been a lot of workforce development and a lot of just capacity building on the job creation side. And so, balancing that supply and demand, making sure there's enough installers to do the jobs, and all of that has been a bit of a challenge, but we're in a great place right now, and there's just a lot of job opportunities out there. And research and development is a constant one. The price of solar is constantly coming down, and it will continue to come down as we go on. And I always like to tell people that, when you're looking at different energy sources, the cost of everything else is going up, and the cost of solar is going down. So when you kind of take a longer term vision and look at what those costs actually mean, without a doubt, the more R&D we invest in this area, the more the costs are going to come down over time, and the faster they're going to come down. And then ongoing stability, just ensuring that we have, a stable industry, a stable market, and some security over the long run. I think this is an important slide because there's a lot of pieces when you're developing something new and developing it for the long term, just being conscious of different things. We launched our Feed and Tariff program about 1.5 years ago, almost 2 years ago. And so the question of sending the right signals to the marketplace is a very important one. The solar industry, believes that the feed and tariff prices should come down as we become more cost competitive and as we start to reach parity. So that's one issue. We have an election next week, which I'm going to speak to a little bit later on, but there is certainly concern about the provincial election and the impact on the feed and tariff program and the Green Energy Act. We have an upcoming review period that's going to be launching pretty soon. Every 2 years, the Green Energy Act's feed-in tariff program is going to be reviewed. And what that means is that the prices themselves are going to be reviewed, and there's going to be an assessment within, with the industry and with the government about whether those prices, are sending the right signals to the marketplace, and whether they need to come down, and other regulatory issues within the program, whether they need to be adjusted to really accommodate how far we've come over time. And then, continuous monitoring and program improvement, making sure that all of the environmental regulations are in place. That's a work in progress as well, and that's something that has been, being worked out over time. And then finally, public concern regarding ratepayer impact. And this is actually a really good segue for what I want to briefly speak to next. There has been some debate lately, and I'm sure you guys have heard about some of this debate in the press and the news about what this program costs Ontario ratepayers. And as I mentioned earlier, we recently commissioned a really comprehensive third-party study on the economic impacts of solar in Ontario. And we found that the cost of Ontario's solar industry and solar energy program for Ontario ratepayers is about 70 cents a month per household. So, as we like to say at CanSIA, it's about the cost of a Tim Hortons donut per month, less than a cup of coffee, less than a muffin. And there's been a lot of different stakeholders and politicians and so on saying that the prices are much higher. So I think it's important to be clear and to tell people that there are a lot of different costs that are associated with our rising electricity prices, and solar is a very, very small one, but there are other ones that have to do with transmission and distribution upgrades to the grid, paying off our nuclear debt, and so on. So there are a lot of costs there. We recently, in conjunction with the study that we did on the economic impacts, we did some polling of Ontario citizens on this exact topic, and we found that almost 70% of Ontario citizens believe that more electricity should be generated from renewable resources, even if it means paying slightly higher electricity prices. So, at the end of the day, when we give some thought to what kind of a society we want to live in, I always like to ask people if they think it's worth giving up that one donut a month or that one coffee or that one muffin to ensure that we have a clean, renewable energy system for today and in the future. So with that said, I am really excited to announce that we launched our new Stand Up for Solar campaign earlier this month. The campaign is designed to give Ontario residents a strong voice in the energy debate leading up to the election, and just really a platform to express their support and voice their support to all of their provincial candidates leading up to the election, and to their communities and to their friends, and to really function as a platform and a forum for people to stand up for solar in Ontario. And yesterday we launched a Facebook contest to win a new iPad, so you guys should definitely check that out, like our Facebook page, and you can enter the contest. So I encourage you guys all to please take a moment to go on our Facebook page, enter the contest. There will be a lot of other activities happening throughout the month to keep Ontario residents engaged in the conversation and inspired to take action. You can also send a letter to your local provincial candidates through our website, and you can join conversations about solar energy through our blog as well. So there's a lot of great content on there, and I encourage you all to take a look. In closing, I just want to say that we have so much to be proud of here in Ontario for truly becoming a world leader in solar energy, and we've built something really extraordinary here. And I think that's always number one, is really just showcasing for people what we have built and how proud we should be of how far we've come in such a short time. And we have an incredible window of opportunity here to voice our support for what we've built, and to really to just really support what we can achieve in the future. I'm personally really proud to live in a province that has taken a leadership role in this area. And I think we have an amazing opportunity to keep showing the world what's possible with the right kind of support and the right kind of commitment, and to keep really building on our successes so that we can show our kids and our grandkids what kind of a world we want to live in. So I ask all of you to please visit the website, to take 10 seconds to send a letter to your provincial candidates. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, enter our iPad contest. It's really awesome. And share our campaign with your friends and your families and your colleagues, and And yeah, just really help us get this out there. I know a lot of you have already been doing that over the last few days, so I thank you very much for that. There has definitely never been a better time to stand up for solar in Ontario. It's an important time right now. I want to just take a moment once again to thank McMaster University and the Photovoltaic Innovation Network for inviting me here to speak today, and for all of your tremendous efforts in this area to really help build our solar industry here in Ontario, and for taking the opportunity over the last few months to tell your story and to showcase what you've been working on and to spread the message. It's really amazing, so I applaud you for that. At CanSIA, we know that students are undoubtedly the future of this industry. I think from one side of the job spectrum to the other, it's all you guys that are going to be building this for the future. And so, I think you're undoubtedly going to be leading us toward that really prosperous, sustainable energy economy that we all want really badly. So it's really great to have you here today. So thank you again for the opportunity to speak. And I know there's quite a few of us in the room, but I'd love to just get a conversation going, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'd love to hear from you guys about what your interest is today. So thank you.